Good evening. So, Gukesh have created a history. Fine. So he's the youngest champion in. Fine. And who conduct this championship? Which organization conduct this chess championship? Which organization? Huh? Asian? No. He is a champion. He's a world champion right now. My question is, like for in cricket, ICC is there. In football, FIFA is there. In chess, FIDE, FIDE. Fine. So FIDE is an organization which is responsible for what? Which is responsible for making the rules and regulation of the game. Fine. And he is the youngest world champion. Fine. So certain basic things related to the chess and its administration is required. Fine. I'll give you one example here. Few years back in 2012, okay, India conducted Formula 1 race. And it was first time India was conducting Formula 1 race. And in fact, Formula 1 is considered as one of the expensive export. Most expensive. In fact, not expensive, most expensive. Why? Because you have to build a Formula 1 track. So near Noida, Greater Noida, track was created by JP Group known as Buddh International Circuit. Fine. And a lot of questions were also raised. Why a country like India, which is a developing country, is spending such amount of money for what purpose? Such an expensive export. Anyways, that was a privately built, so government of India's involvement was not there. So everyone was expecting there will be a question on what? Formula 1. And that was a phase when UPSC every year in prelims exam, they are asking 1 or 2 questions on sports. Every year, if you will see the question paper from 2004 to 2012-13, you will find every year 1 or 2 questions they are asking on what? Sports. From 2013 onwards, they have stopped this practice. Generally, they are not asking question on what? Sports. But earlier, they have a practice to ask at least 2 questions from the sports. So everyone was expecting that the question will be asked. Fine. In fact, all other exams, fine, all other competitive exams, they have asked the question. And people are also ready for what? UPSC. Who won the championship? What is the length of the track? All these details. In prelims, there was no question. No question was asked in the prelims examination. They have asked the question in the mains examination. And question was, in the Formula 1 race, there are 8 different type of flags are being shown at different stage. What is the color of the flag and what is the significance? They have asked this question in the mains examination. Because at that time, syllabus was like not 4 papers of the GS, 2 papers of GS was there. And they have asked this question there. So you cannot predict that UPSC is not going to ask, or UPSC is going to ask, or UPSC is going to ask only in this way, UPSC cannot ask in this way. So our approach should be that whatever we are reading or studying, we should read or study from proper analytical perspective. Fine. So game is important, but games administration is also important. Okay. So here, this sport, chess, is regulated by FIDE. Okay. Now, as we know that this issue is consistently going on. Which issue? Place of Worship Act. So Place of Worship Act is consistently in the news. Fine. So in this regard, Supreme Court, as we have earlier discussed, the Supreme Court have take this matter in their hand and they decided that we are going to scrutiny what? We are going to scrutiny Place of Worship Act. And in that regard, they have asked Government of India to submit their affidavit. Means what is the position of Government of India? Interestingly, government of India is dodging this question for past 1 year. For past 1 year, government of India is dodging this question. Means Supreme Court is asking, but government of India taking. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. Finally, again, government of India said that they need 4 weeks to reply on this matter. So within 4 weeks, we will submit our stance. This is the stance of government of India. But because many of the courts in India, whether it is a civil court or it's a high court, they are taking those matters and they are instructing ASI. Fine? ASI stands for Archaeological Survey of India to go for certain surveys. So yesterday, Supreme Court said that now this matter is in our hand and we are going to decide whether it's legal or not legal. Which act? Place of Worship Act. Fine. Place of Worship Act is legal or not. We are going to check that. And till then, we are checking this case. No court in India is going to scrutiny or taking this matter. Fine. So under that, Supreme Court have took the matter. Supreme Court have a power to issue writs. And one is mandamus. And it said that we command. It means we command. We command means from here, no one else is supposed to take up this matter because we have taken up the matter. So once the Supreme Court have taken the matter, then there is no need for any other court to take up that matter. Fine. And Supreme Court is also a court of record. Means whatever the judgment is given by the Supreme Court can be presented as a evidence in any other court in India. Fine. So with this, Supreme Court have taken this matter. We are going to take up this matter. That is why no need to go in that. Okay. Acha. If you want, I can go for a detailed discussion on Place of Worship Act. Its history, what happened, when happened, fine, in what circumstances that act was passed, what was the viewpoint of the government, who have supported that act, who are against that act, on what grounds, fine, and how this act excluded Ayodhya case. So all these things we can do in a separate discussion session. If you want, let me know.
UPSC want to ask the question on place of worship, how it will ask?
This is what I am saying, that in that session, Place of Worship Act, if I will take that session, I will first examine the historical underpinning of that act. What are the controversies related to that act? Fine. Why, despite that act, the act is there, but why despite that act? See, act is simply saying that whatever the position was in 1947, that cannot be challenged. But still, in the case of Gyanvapi, in the case of Mathura, in case of Sambhal, in all three cases, courts are issuing what? Survey. How? So this need a proper detailed discussion. So first, historical underpinning for that act. Then what are the main features of that act? For example, section 3 and section 4 and section 5 of that act. So 6 is also important, but 6 can be read only with 3, 4 and 5. Fine. So 6 will come only after 3, 4, 5. Means 6 is read by reading 3 and 4. Okay, 3, 4 and 5. So 3, 4 and 5 read it, then 6 will come. Fine. So what are the sections? Now, what are the objections of the people? And on what grounds courts are issuing their order? Why government of India is hesitating to put their stance? And then 5 possible questions on Place of Worship Act, and out of that 5 question, 1 question I will discuss in the class and let you know how to write an answer. Fine. But that need at least 15 to 20 minutes, or maybe it will take half an hour. Fine, for the detailed discussion. So if you want, let me know, I'll discuss. And those who are watching online, you can put this thing in the comment. If required, I'll do that, and I'll also provide the model answer. And when I will take up this matter, I will also let you know how to analyze what kind of the question can be framed on what matter. Fine, because certain issues are what? Certain issues are controversial in the nature. Fine. So, in what way question can be framed on this? Fine. So, I will also discuss that thing in that session. But as of right now, let's focus on the newspaper. If you want, let me know after the class. Okay. I'll prepare that topic tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Tomorrow I can take. It's up to you. Okay. Acha, retail inflation. Retail inflation moderate to 5.5% in the November after new height in what? October. So retail inflation, fine. Inflation is basically calculated at, generally it is said that inflation is calculated at two levels, retail inflation and wholesale inflation. So retail inflation, when we talk about inflation, it is WPI, wholesale price based inflation, and other is CPI, consumer price index based inflation. So what is the price at consumer level? What is the price at wholesale market? Fine. There is another one known as PPI, producer price index. So what is the price at producer level? What is the price at wholesale level? What is the price at consumer level? Earlier, India was focusing on what? Wholesale price. But in 2016, we have shifted on what? Consumer price index based inflation as an indicator to assess inflation in India. This concept is not used in India. This concept is used in few countries, like for example, US. Fine. In certain European countries and Japan, they use also this concept, producer price index. Fine. Because in these countries, like when we go to the market, fine. So we will find wholesale market and consumer market. Fine. But in those countries, if you will go, you will also find the producers market. Means farmers are directly coming to that market and selling their produce. So that is called producers market, where the producers, like for example, in the case of mangoes, fine. So certain mango farmers are directly selling their mangoes. Certain they are selling to the wholesale, and from wholesale it is coming to what? Retail shops. Fine. So in the case of certain fruits, we have this concept of producer price, but it is very limited. So data is going to be very limited, and there is no proper data analysis. So that is why a country like India do not use. Same reason India was using WPI. Why? Because in India, consumer market price calculate and compilation was little bit difficult. So this was kind of reason given by the government of India. But gradually it was found that now government of India is not facing any big issue to collect and compile the data, and that's why government of India have to switch it where? CPI. So that matter for CPI was till the 1990s. We have to shift to what? CPI, because most of the countries of the world, they have switched to CPI back in 1980s. India was taking its own time. Fine. India was taking its own time. But sooner or later, India finally decided in 2016 ki okay, we are also going to switch what? CPI. So CPI is a main indicator for what? Inflation. And these days, RBI for their monetary policy. For their monetary policy, they focus on what? Inflation. That is what inflation? Consumer price inflation. So until unless consumer price inflation is going to ease, and RBI have a mandate कि inflation should be under the bracket of 4% plus minus 2%. So it is a duty bound. Who? RBI. RBI is duty bound to make sure that the inflation should be under the bracket. That means minimum inflation 2% and maximum inflation what? 6%. And if inflation will be remain high, RBI will not increase the money supply. Fine. So this is why this inflation data is important. It was reaching what? 6%, but now it is eased to what? 5.5%. Which month? November. So what is happening right now, we are able to see when? At least 1 month after. So what is happening right now, we are able to see what is happening. The data will be compiled and it will be available next month. Okay. So this inflation data. Though generally this means UPSC is not going to ask you what was the inflation rate in the month of November or October. No, they are not going to ask in this way. But how the factor of inflation is impacting government policies and monetary policy of RBI. So you can expect analytical question when they are going to connect what? When they are going to connect this inflation, when they are going to connect this inflation with what? Monetary policy and fiscal policy, means the policy under which government's expenditure and receipts is being decided. And one more possible dimension is on exchange rate. How inflation impacts exchange rate, how inflation impact monetary policy, how inflation impact fiscal policy. If analytical question will be there, and if conceptual question will be there, they will ask what is inflation, define. Fine. Then they will ask about WPI, CPI. Fine. So conceptual question as well as analytical question, both type of question UPSC is asking every year. Inflation, monetary policy, and fiscal policy, what I have mentioned on the board right now. These topics are attracting 4 to 5 questions in the prelims exam every year. Every year they are asking 4 to 5 questions related to the topic which I have mentioned on the board right now. So these are the very important topics. So you have to keep reading. Fine, keep reading. Now let's go back to the newspaper. Yes.
This matter is on the news. This matter is on the news. How to connect this matter to the question?
How to
connect this matter, newspapers matter.
On the very first day, I told you 3 things. Do you remember? First, no. Previous year's question was a secondary thing. Syllabus. Second. First thing I told you, memorize what? Syllabus. Have you started? Have you completed? No. No. Fine. Have you purchased the previous year's question paper and have you started analyzing the previous year's question paper? I told you that it is going to be difficult to answer that question. But have I asked you to answer that questions? I just ask you to see the previous year's question paper and underline the key term, the technical term. Critically analyze. It's a question paper's language. Term is critically analyze government's decision to go for what? One nation, one election. So one nation, one election is a technical term. So I told you to go for those things. If you have gone through those things, you are not going to ask this question to me. But still, if you have asked this question to me, how to analyze, again the processes remain same. You have to go through the previous question paper and underline keywords. Underline the keywords. For you, I have opened the question paper so that you can get the clarity what I am asking you to do. This is the question paper of this year. Fine. And instructions are mentioned here. Now, examine the pattern. Examine the pattern and trend of public expenditure on social services in post-reform period in India. So they are asking a question on what? They are asking a question, pattern and trend on public expenditure. So what topic is here? The topic which is in question here, public expenditure. Public expenditure from 1991 onwards. How the public expenditure is happening. So here question is on government's expenditure and they are asking what? Public expenditure. So until unless you have an idea of expenditure profiling in India, how the expenditure is profiled in India, fine, you are not able to answer. But while reading this one, you have understood na ki they are asking question on government's expenditure. So UPSC do ask the question government expenditure, but they do not ask question in a simple manner. They are asking in context of what? They are asking in the context of post-liberalization phase, that is post-1991. Then, to what extent this has been consonance with the achieving objective of inclusive growth. So, see, in this question, two key words are here. Expenditure of government post 1991 and how this expenditure is able to fulfill the objective of what? Inclusive growth. So inclusive growth and government's expenditure is a focus of UPSC. That's why they have asked. So expenditures profiling, on the base of expenditure profiling, post liberalization profiling, and under that inclusive growth. What is inclusive growth and how inclusive growth is achieved through expenditure of whom? Made by government. So this is what you have to analyze. Again, maybe you are unaware, you have just started. So if you have started right now, it is little bit difficult for you to understand what? Inclusive growth. But if you are doing question paper analysis, always having the mobile phone in the hand, people are not able to live without a mobile phone these days. So if you will type what is inclusive growth, how much time it is going to be taken by Google to answer? Hardly fraction of seconds. And inclusive growth meaning you will be able to immediately get. I'm not saying go in the detail, but while doing this newspaper question paper analysis, being as a beginner, being as a person who do not have the knowledge of the government expenditure, not completed the economy, how I can do that? So this is what I am telling you. At least get a definition of what? Inclusive growth and public expenditure by the government. So you will get an idea in what way they are asking the question. Now you have seen certain article in the newspaper related to what? Inclusive growth. You have seen that article related to what? Expenditure by the government. So you will be immediately alerted or not? Because they are asking question on what? They are asking the question on both things. Understood? So that is a process which you have to go through. And I am not saying that you should do all these in a single day. Take your time. 4 GS paper. If you will analyze last 11 years from 2023 to 2013 to 2024. 11 years, 44 question papers. Every question paper supposed having 20 questions. Every question on an average 20 questions will be there. Multiplied by 44. How many questions? 880 questions. So 880 questions if you are going to do the analysis of 10 questions in a day. 10 questions in a day. Or you can also go through in this way, like ethics paper, fine, or GS paper 2, GS paper 3, or you can divide into two fractions. Rather than going for 11 year one single go, you can go for first 5-year question paper. So if you will go for first 5-year question paper, fine, 5-year 4 question papers. How many question papers? 5 multiplied by 4, 20 question papers multiplied by 20. How many question papers? 400. And if you will do daily 10 questions, it will maximum take 45 days to comprehensively study what? Previous year's question paper with proper analysis and write it down. What I am mentioning here, write it down. The UPSC have asked in 2024. In 2024, GS3 topics: public expenditure and inclusive growth. Right in this way. Again, it is a time-taking process, but success is not supposed to come by this. You have to put your blood and sweat. Fine, you have to remain patient. Only then it will come. Lot of hard work and patience is required. And again, the same thing which I have told you in the very first session. You have to be what? Continuous. No need to go for 8 to 10 hours in a day. Even if you are able to do the hard work 6-7 hours, maximum 6-7 hours on daily basis, that is more than enough. But it should be in what? Continuation. Small breaks are fine, but long breaks going for 10 to 12 hours, then again back to what? 1 or 2 hours, it is never going to work. And this is why most of the people fail. Because if you will see the nature of the question paper, it is not very difficult. A person who is consistently reading the newspapers and having the clarity of basic concepts even through NCERT and certain books, you can clear on your own. But that need what? Proper analysis, strategy making, practice, which people are not able to do on their own. Fine. And that is why coaching institutes are there. We are here to provide regular studies, question paper, revision, analysis, and idea in what way you have to do. Okay, so this is the way. Got my point? Cabinet clears the bills related to what? Simultaneous election. So, as of right now, you just hold it regarding this issue. The day it is going to be presented in the parliament, fine? The day it is going to be presented in the parliament, and from there, views, counter views, opinion, counter opinion will start coming in what? Newspaper. Fine. So you have to put 3 things in the mind. What is it? What is one nation, one election? On which committee's recommendation? Ramnath Kovind, former president of India, he was assigned for this work and he has submitted his report. Yes, we can go ahead with what? One nation, one election. After agreeing all this by the cabinet of Government of India, they have decided to go ahead with this bill. So this bill is going to be presented in the parliament. In fact, the cabinet nod is being given and issue already started. Tomorrow in the newspaper, maybe in Hindu or Indian Express or Hindustan Times, definitely you are going to find what? Definitely you are going to find the matter of what? Simultaneous election. Acha, those newspapers who feel that it is right, so they will present their opinion accordingly, and those who are going to find that it is bad idea, so they will accordingly give their view and opinion. Fine. So we have to analyze both pros and cons. Only then you can answer the question. So we will also take up this matter, one nation, one election. As I told you, Place of Worship Act. After Place of Worship Act, we can also take this matter in the detailed discussion. Fine. Means we can go for like explained. It will take 20 to 30 minutes. Topic will be explained, plus how question can be asked, and then model answer. In that way, we can go for it. Okay. CAG report flags violation, lapses, enforcement of what? Tamil Nadu CRZ notification. Now see, this part is not important. That is not important. What is important? CAG report. So what is CAG? Comptroller Auditor General of India. It's a constitutional body mentioned in Article 248 to 251. So 248 to 251 talks about what? CAG, Comptroller Auditor General of India. Fine. And its function and how they prepare the report, all these things being done by whom? CAG. Fine. CAG. So for CAG, fine, like CAG have to compile the report. Fine. So what are the things taken by CAG to prepare that report? Once the report is prepared, it is sent to whom? Governor, President, and in Union Territories, Lieutenant Governor. Fine. The report is sent to the Lieutenant Governor in the Union Territory, and in the states, it is sent to whom? Governor, and for the Union, it is sent to whom? President. So once the report is sent, this report is presented by the Governor, President, and LG in the House. So President will send that report to where? Parliament. Governor will send that report to state legislature. Similarly, Lieutenant Governor is also going to send the report to where? Legislature. So once the report is presented, fine, we say that the report is public right now. So once the report is presented in the House, then there is a parliamentary committee, Public Account Committee. So once the report is presented by whom? CAG, it's going to be scrutinized by whom? Public Account Committee. Public Account Committee have 22 members coming from where? Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And the chairman of PAC is generally a position member, and it is oldest parliamentary committee. So this parliamentary committee is going to scrutinize the report, and on that basis there is a debate and discussion in where? House of Parliament. Fine. House of the Parliament. So how CAG works, all these things I have just given you the glimpse. So regarding CAG, you have to make sure that you have seen the provisions as well as what? How this CAG works. RTI award for Kerala for exemplary performance. Right to information. So right to information is an important topic. If you will go through the previous year's question paper, you will find that they have asked the question on RTI related thing, not only in the prelims, but also in mains. And in mains, they have asked the question in not only in GS paper 2, but also in GS paper 4, ethics related. So anything which is related to RTI, it is important, and you can go through that. Here, Kerala is what? Awarded for his performance, proactive promotion. Why RTA is important and how RTA helps the people to make government accountable. But the dark side of this is what happened back in 2006. 2008. So 2008, RTI activist, he filed a petition and he asked for certain information. And when the information was out, that shown that how corruption is being happened, and he again filed another RTA request. With those two RTA requests, the scam or the corruption was unearthed, and then that activist was killed. Fine. So RTI activist, fine. RTI activist, they are what? They are sometimes also called as what? Whistleblower. Fine, whistleblower. Why? Because they blow the whistle about any wrong thing happening in what? Society and the government. So whistleblower. And after that, government also tried to bring what? Whistleblower Protection Act. Fine. So whistleblower are there who raise the matters and issues which maybe compel government to be more transparent in their functioning and avoid any kind of what? Corruption. So in that context, RTI plays a very important role. Okay. HEMA panel, I told you. Now, HEMA panel, Supreme Court not to hear women who do not want to prosecution. So, suppose that a lady at that time when the issue was happened, fine, exploitation happened. Now that lady is married and she is not interested to put her name in the social domain, fine, because she is feeling that that is going to impact my dignity in the family. So if somebody is not interested, they are saying that we are not interested, though exploitation happened and it was injustice to us, but that injustice happened at that point of time may be going to impact my present as well as what? Future. So that is an important issue, and that is why Supreme Court said that okay, fine, we will see this matter. We will see this matter, and especially in the case of women and child. Fine, the identity of what? Identity of victim is an important thing. But we have seen that in many cases, the identity of victim is what? Identity of victim is disclosed by media outlets. Even in the Kolkata rape case, and in previous cases also, what they did, they have opened the identity. Fine. And because of that fear, certain women, they are having my dignity is going to be very questionable in my present circumstances and the future circumstances. So that is why we are not interested for that. So in that context, they have approached to where? Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said that okay, we will see this matter. Center is committed to protecting country's heritage, says Shekhawat. So this article is coming under the context of what? Kumbh or Mahakumbh? Huh? What is written here? In Hindi it is written Mahakumbh. Fine. So can you differentiate what is the difference between Kumbh and Mahakumbh?
Celebrated every 144 years.
Mahakumbh celebrated at 144 years. And Kumbh?
12 years.
12 years. Fine. 12 years. So it is happening at where? Kumbh happened at which place? So see, Kumbh, Mahakumbh and Ardha Kumbh. So there are 4 places, fine, where these things, this Kumbh Mela is going to happen. Nasik, Haridwar, Ujjain and Prayag. Fine. So it is going to happen in the cycle of 6 years, Ardha Kumbh. Kumbh is going to happen at the cycle of what? Cycle of 12 years. So it will start from where? It will start from Prayag, fine, and it will go to Haridwar, then it will go to Ujjain, then it will go to Nasik, and again come back to where? Prayag. Fine. Again it is going to happen at where? Prayag. And when it is going to happen? 12 multiplied by 12. Fine. So that Kumbh is called as what? Mahakumbh? No, that is not Mahakumbh. That happened back in 1998. Fine. So that was happened once in a century. Fine. Once in a century. So one cycle is completed, then it is called Mahakumbh. And that is going to happen at where? That is going to happen after 144 years. So once in a century it happens. Once in a century. and that was happened in last century, not in this century. It was happened. Fine. Not right now able to recall the exact year, but this is the system of 144 years, then 12 year, 12, 12, 12, 12, and again back. So it is returning back again where? At Prayag. So that is why they are calling as what? Mahakumbh. But Mahakumbh, calling as a Mahakumbh is not a right terminology because it is happening in the context of what? 144 years. Okay, but you have to keep this thing in the mind. It has happened at the banks of rivers. Fine. All the events are happening at what? River bank. Fine. And it is considered as one of the biggest religious event in the faith of Hinduism. Fine. In the faith of Hinduism. So it is related to what? Religion as well as what? Culture. But because it is more related to what? Religion rather than culture, so you can expect less possibility of question on it because UPSC generally focus on what? More culture than religion. Okay. But here you can see that the center is making this religious event as what? Country's heritage event. Fine. So any religious practice which is being practiced for so many years in a particular country, so that will become a part of heritage of that country. So any religious event, it is not about just a Hinduism event, any event which is happening in a country for a very long phase, it will be part of what? Heritage. And in that context, minister have made a statement that to preserve the heritage, we are committed to provide all kind of the necessary support to it. Okay. Acha. Fake narratives are being created about privatization of what? Railway. So this statement made by whom? Railway Minister. Why? Because recently Railway Amendment Bill was presented. So with the amendment, changing in the certain terms and conditions of what? Rules and regulations of railway. But certain people are saying that under the disguise of this amendment, railway want to what? Railway want to privatize. Fine. So whether railway should be privatized or not, fine. Whether railway should be privatized or not, and if it is going to be privatized, what kind of the model is going to be followed. But in India, it's a sentimental issue that railway should not be what? Privatized, because if it is in the private hand, private people will look that service from the point of view of what? Profit making, rather than providing what? Necessary travel services to poorest people of the country. So this is why it is always said that the railway should not be what? Privatized. But as I told you earlier also, in India, railway started as a private entity rather than what? Rather than a government entity. So it is not about that particular company or organization or service is under private hand or government hand. It matters how it is being regulated by the government. So despite making a private sector there in that zone, still government can control certain things. Communication sector is not privatized. Most of the people are using what? BSNL or private service providers? Private service provider. Most of the people are using what? Jio, Airtel, Vodafone like the services. Fine. And they are okay with that. In fact, they do not want a government service provider. They do not want a government service provider. So the same case cannot be happen in the case of railways. Why the same case cannot be happen in the case of railways? Maybe a private company can efficiently manage their expenditure and cut down the cost. Maybe a private company is able to manage their expenditure and cutting down the cost, and they can make the good profit even at what price railway is providing the ticketing. When you book the railway ticket, railway is mentioning only 57%. Every time you will book the ticket, railway is going to tell you in the message that only 57% of the cost is covered through the price which we are charging to you. Fine. So it might be two possibility. Either the expenditure is too high, or you are inefficient to manage those expenditures. Sometimes this happens. It's a case of what? It's a case of how to manage those expenditures. How to make those assets which are not making any profit to make a profitable assets. Fine. So sometimes innovation. So you cannot outrightly say that the private sector is always going to bring what? Always going to be profit oriented and people will deprive from basic services. No, it can be happen. Many countries in the world, they have private system of railways. Japan have, Germany have, they have private system. France have, and they are working very well. Now you can give the counter logic, sir, all these are the developed countries. All these are what? Developed countries. But again, you have to keep in your mind whether sector should be privatized or not. Okay, this should be seen from the point of view of public service, fine, and the efficiency of that organization. Okay, if government is capable of making that organization capable, then government can himself do that. But if government is not able to do that, then can go for what? Privatization. And in fact, India have one private railway station. It is in Madhya Pradesh. Fine, it is at Madhya Pradesh and near to Bhopal. I just forgot the name of the railway station. It is privately managed. Privately managed. What it means that railway station is a property of Government of India, Ministry of Railways. But all the cleanness, everything is maintained by whom? A private company. So the station is managed by a private company. And once you will go there, you will realize what is the difference. Fine. How this station is neat and clean in comparison to what? Any other station in India. Fine. But again, people are what? Not interested. There are trains who are privately managed catering, for example, Tejas trains. And in fact, railway has created its own company, IRCTC. Fine. So you have to go through that. Why I am emphasizing on these things? Because again, in paper 3, infrastructure, and in the infrastructure, road transportation, surface transportation. So surface transportation, rail and road, air transportation, and shipping transportation. The 4 transportation things are there, and every year, even in this question paper, which I have opened now, in this question paper, 2 infrastructure related questions are there. So that is why you should not skip. You should read what are the things of particular sector related to infrastructure, what are the modalities related to it, what are the issues they are facing. You have to aware of it, because it is having the value of minimum 20 marks, maximum 30 marks. Infrastructure, 2 questions will be there, maybe 2 questions in the 10 marker, or maybe 2 questions in the 15 marker. So total value, maximum value 30, minimum value 20. Fine. India votes in favor of what? Ceasefire. Where India have voted, where elections was happening? United Nations Security Council. So United Nations Security Council have total 15 members, 5 permanent and 10 temporary members, having the tenure of 2 to 2 years on rotation basis. And the interesting thing, why I have highlighted 2 reasons. India is favoring what? India is favoring the cause of Palestine. Though India have very good relation and very close relation with whom? Israel. But most of the time means 100 out of 98 times. 100 out of 98 times, when the matter will be there in UN Security Council, Israel versus Palestine, India has supported always whom? Palestine rather than Israel. Fine. Despite that, India and Israel have very close relation, especially in the area of what? Defense cooperation. Fine. So this is why I have highlighted. Second thing, which is going to be very interesting.
Pakistan is going.
Yes, Pakistan is going to be the member of what? Pakistan is going to be member of UN Security Council on temporary basis for next 2 years. And it is not only Pakistan. There are total 5 organization of Islamic countries. So OIC is a council of 57 countries, Muslim countries around the world, and out of that OIC, total 5 member will be there in what? In UN Security Council. So how India-Pakistan showdown is going to be happen at where? UN Security Council. Fine. And that is why many platforms avoid to have both India and Pakistan. Why? Because they know that we have organized this event. Classic example, SARC. So SARC meeting is going to happen, but that SARC meeting is going to be overshadowed on what? India and Pakistan, Jammu and Kashmir issue. So people are not reporting SARC. What are the issues are going to be discussed at SARC? Fine. South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. So those matters are going to be sidelined. And more important matter means what? India, Pakistan. So it is a history where SARC is going to be overshadowed because of what? India and Pakistan matter. And that is why India also what? Given up with what? SARC. India is not doing with the SARC. India has created different organization known as BIMSTEC. Fine. So this is why India-Pakistan showdown, which is going to happen in what? UN Security Council, views and counter views, opinion, views. It is what? Treat to watch. If you are civil services aspirant, analysis of international relations, what is happening around the world, how India and Pakistan is going to have a same view on particular matter, and how, because sometimes what happens, if India is favoring this matter, we are not going to favor this. If India is agree, we will disagree. If India will disagree, we will agree. But now how you are going to be on same side? How you are going to be on same side? And how you are going to say to your people that we are going to vote on the resolution which is proposed by, imagine, Pakistan has proposed a resolution in UN Security Council, and that resolution was supported by whom? India. Then people will ask in this country why you have supported. That will be relatively easy for India. It is going to be very difficult for whom? Pakistan. When India is going to propose any resolution and it is supported by whom? Pakistan. Fine. So that is going to be the interesting thing. But that is also going to be an opportunity. Opportunity for both India and Pakistan to think about the peaceful talk and terrorism issue. Okay. Supreme Court questions UP's silence on the core aspect of what? Equality and secularism in the school. Last year, one unfortunate incident happened with a teacher of one faith and the student of another faith. That student was harassed by the teacher. Fine. And that video went viral. And in that context, Supreme Court have put its remark, silence on the core aspect. See the lines, silence on core aspects of equality and secularism. So here the point is, what are the core aspects of what? Equality and secularism. So this article is very important from the point of view of GS paper 2. Because equality, how equality is defined? What Supreme Court feels that this is the core of equality and this is the core of what? Secularism. So core of equality and secularism is state itself. Fine. Article 12 of Indian Constitution defines what? State. And state should be what? State should ensure both equality as well as secularism. So how state can be silenced on that matter? That means you are hitting the core of what? You are hitting the core of equality and secularism. And this is very good topic to be asked in the exam. Fine. A good possibility of question on this topic. So tomorrow I'll give you 4 or 5 questions, possible questions on this matter, and one model answer I'll provide you tomorrow on this matter. Fine. Lok Sabha passes a bill regarding what? Managing amend the Disaster Management Act of 2005. So I have not highlighted this news because tomorrow again newspapers are going to analyze this matter in the detailed manner. So wait for it, because certain states are having apprehension that this act is going to what? This act is going to take certain powers of whom? States. But government of India is saying that this act is going to empower the states. Okay, so let's see the view and counter view tomorrow on this topic. Union cabinet give approval to what? Bill on simultaneous election. You can see the picture of whom? Mamata Banerjee is there. So all the opposition CM from opposition party, they are opposing this what? They are opposing this simultaneous election. Fine. So in this regard, you can go for this article, and here West Bengal CM terms attack on what? Democracy and federalism. Fine. So see here, on what grounds? Who is criticizing that? Not very important. On what grounds it is being criticized? That is important for you. So you have to not see this matter as a political in the nature. You should see this matter as a matter of what? Polity. Fine? Not a political matter. Okay, so you have to maintain a keep close eye on this matter in the upcoming editions of the newspaper. Here, Periyar, fine, Periyar Memorial. So, in modern Indian history, there is a satyagraha. Fine, topic is satyagraha, and that satyagraha led by Gandhi, it was more prominent in the northern part of India rather than what? Southern part of India. But Vaikom Satyagraha is a prominent social movement in the southern part of India, and there is always a possibility of a question on Vaikom Satyagraha, not only in prelims but also in what? Mains. And that is why I have especially highlighted there E.V. Ramaswamy Nachikar, founder of what? Periyar. Fine. So this matter, Vaikom Satyagraha, he witnessed the coexistence and cooperation across the border. So Vaikom Satyagraha become very popular in the state of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Fine. So you have to go through the detail of what? Satyagraha. What is Satyagraha? And then go for what? Vaikom Satyagraha. Who did that? The person, on what matters, and what are the outcomes and challenges of that issue. Okay? And as you know that there is no confidence motion against what? Vice President. So views, counter views are coming on this matter. India confers honorary rank on Nepal Army Chief. India and Nepal have friendship and peace treaty. Friendship treaty between India and Nepal. And under that treaty, Indian Army Chief is an honorary Chief of Nepal Army. And Nepal Army Chief is also an honorary Chief of what? Indian Army. So we treat Nepal Army Chief equivalent to what? Indian Army Chief. Similarly, Indian Army Chief is also treated as what? Nepal Army Chief equivalently. So this is showing that a close bonding between whom? India and Nepal. But in recent time, there are certain issues between India and Nepal regarding sharing of the water, fine, and certain territories related to river Kali, fine, and because of China factor also. Fine. So all these matters are a matter of tension between whom? India and Nepal. In fact, the disputed territory, it is shown in the Nepali rupee note. Nepal shows that it is territory of whom? India, and India claimed that that is our territory. So territorial claim is also an issue. And apart from that, sometimes many Nepal political parties accuses India always interfere in what? Internal matters of where? Nepal. Fine. officials on their toes as tiger, say into Jharkhand from Odisha's Simlipal. Fine. So here tiger and what? Which national park in Odisha and to which national park in where? Jharkhand. So UPSC have a habit, they will mention 4 national parks or tiger reserve and 4 states and you have to match. So from this point of view, you should know that which national park is in Odisha and which national park in Jharkhand he is moving. And that is why I have highlighted this news. What is disease X and why world should prepare for it? Fine. Have you gone through this article? Is it in Hyderabad edition or not? No. You can do one thing. You can do one thing. This topic, disease X. You can do one thing. I'll show you. Mystery disease X outbreak might be malaria. Fine. So people are developing certain symptoms of having fever, sneezing and other things, and that is called disease what? X. So I have searched disease X news. Now you can refine your search disease X. Fine. So this is the another way to find certain things. Suppose you want to know what is happening in RBI. What is happening in RBI and what are the latest things is raised in the newspaper by RBI or on the RBI. Then you can go for what? Again, open the Google search and you can mention what? RBI The Hindu. Now the first search, latest Reserve Bank of India. So they are going to mention all the news related to what? All the news related to RBI. So this is another way to find what? Find the all news related to what? Anything. Again, you can find all the news related to what? Place of Worship Act. So all the latest article, and here it is also mentioned 1 day ago, 4 days ago, 2 days ago. So in that way, in that particular newspaper, when and what topic have came, you can easily find. So rather than going in the Google Place of Worship Act, rely on your prominent source like the Hindu or Indian Express, whatever the newspaper you are following. From there, you can get the most of the data. Understood? So this is the better way to go for search. After that, the article is Pakistan at UNSC and position of its compass. Position of its compass. So do you know that in the very famous movie series, which one? Pirates of Caribbean. And famous character is Jack Sparrow. Captain Jack Sparrow. Fine. Captain Jack Sparrow, and he is having what? Compass. And that compass is always going to show the direction. Like whatever is in your mind, that compass is going to show the direction of that thing. So similarly, the situation is what? Pakistan. So Pakistan is there. So Pakistan's compass is going to be in what direction? Fine. Obviously, they do not want to see India there, but India is there. Now, how Pakistan and India are going to react to each other? This is this case. Fine. So on that, and he is what? Was a permanent representative ambassador of India to United Nations, New York, and the president of United Nations Security Council for August 2021. Mr. Tirumurthy. Fine. So this is a good article to read to understand how UN Security Council work, what are the complex matters in front of UN Security Council, and how India generally react and behave. Because what India is going to do in the UN Security Council, that is directly going to have an implication on India's foreign relation with that country. So if India is going to see a matter where the matter is related to Bhutan, fine, and suppose, imagine a situation, matter is related to Bhutan, and in that matter, if India is going to vote against, it will be difficult for India to convince Bhutan now why we have voted against you. Similarly, it is very difficult for India to convince whom? Israel why we have voted against you. Fine. And sometimes, this is why sometimes when a country vote against any other country with whom the country have very good relations, if a country is having good, suppose that country A, and country A have voted against country B, but country A have very good cordial relation with whom? Country B. Then country A is immediately going to a diplomatic efforts to convince country B that these are the situation and circumstances under which we have voted against you. We are not against you. We are against you on that matter only. So this is what India always explained to whom? Israel. And Israel says that I don't mind because I am the bad boy of that region. Fine. The so-called bad boy of the region is who? Israel. Because they are known for all of their notorious activities. In past, what they did? They blasted with what? Chip, pager, and mobile devices. Fine. So they are doing all those notorious activity. So I understand why you are not able to favor me. Fine. But still, India have to convince. So this is why the voting in United Nations Security Council, it is always a diplomatic challenge. And this article tells about this. Okay. On Gukesh, they have written this editorial. The missing spotlight on what? Urban local government poll. So 73rd and 74th amendment was passed, and it is said that the 73rd and 74th amendment have given a constitutional status to local bodies in India. Despite getting the constitutional status, elections and the autonomy of this local institutions, PRIs, Panchayati Raj institution, is still question mark. Their autonomy. Second, regular election is also another issue in what? Issue in the governance. But if simultaneous election is going to happen, then the elections at local bodies are also going to be what? Simultaneously going to happen. So at least one feature which is called as a good feature, it will compel states to conduct election on regular basis. This is happening at what level? State legislature and union level. Fine. So he have took the matter of what? He have took the matter of local bodies poll. Price worries. As we have seen that the inflation related news on the front page, here they have analyzed how inflation is what? Problematic. You should read it. Opinion. Should the executive have power to pardon? Joe Biden is going to leave the presidency and Donald Trump is going to come on what? On what date? 20th of January. In US, dates are fixed. Date are fixed. Here, there is no change in the date. On the fixed date, election is going to happen. On fixed date, result will come. On the fixed date, president is going to be the part of office. Fine. So, what president did? He have given a pardon. Not only Manny's, but including his own son. Fine. And Donald Trump is also making a comment. Fine. It is not right. So since he have given the pardon to his son, fine. So this matter becomes a matter of debate. Should executive have this power? What about India? President have power?
Yes, sir.
Do president have real power?
No.
President do not have a real power. This power lies with whom? Prime Minister. Fine. And even if president is going to give a pardon, that pardon can be challenged at where? Supreme Court. So in the case of India, the pardoning power is not what? Is not absolute in the nature. But in the case of US, the pardoning power of the president is absolute in the nature in certain circumstances. Fine. So they have created a matter of debate, but it may be matter of debate for the US, but it is not a matter of debate in India because already checks and balances are already there. Even what happened? Last year or last year? Certain accused of Godhra case. Fine. Not Godhra case. In fact, after Godhra, certain issues happened and on that basis, certain peoples were convicted. And then Gujarat government asked governor to give what? Pardon. And they were released. And then that matter went to where? Supreme Court. And Supreme Court took this matter in the cognizance. So in India, judiciary is working as a what? Putting checks and balance on the power of whom? On the power of executive to mention what? To go for pardoning power. Era ended regarding Syria, they are writing. Text and context. So here they have put the case of what? Beijing. So Beijing is also facing what? Beijing is also facing air pollution. And sometimes it is said that what Beijing is doing, you can also do that. But Beijing is not a democratic country. Fine, it's not a part of democratic country. So they can do many things which people are going to oppose. And they can silence those people. Judiciary cannot intervene there. Here in India. But if Beijing is doing certain things which are at technical level, fine, without violating human rights. If Beijing is doing certain things without violating human rights using of the technology or better management, that should be taken as a consideration while maintaining what? While maintaining or addressing the issue of what? Water and air pollution in India. So this article can be used, certain facts of this article can be used how to tackle air pollution in India, especially in the capital of India, Delhi. Plague of tiring sequels, buzzkill, cliffhangers, and half fill. Fine. So this is what they have said. A two film strong, 340 minutes long, cat and mouse game. So they have analyzed what? They have analyzed this movie. Anyways, I have not watched. Maybe you have watched, so you can read that. Chief Economic Advisor seeks fix for mental health crisis afflicting the youngs. See, 3 days back we have discussed this issue. Right to disconnect. Again, now who is mentioning? Chief Economic Advisor. So after Finance Minister, he is the most influential person on what? Matter of economics. So he is also considering this as an important issue. So mental health is an important topic. Do not consider that ki mental health is a subcategory topic. It's an important topic for the exam point of view. Okay. So again, it is very important to note down what Mr. Nageshwaran have mentioned here. Growth will be back on track by the end of this fiscal. And he was the minister who outrightly asked RBI what? He asked RBI to cut the interest rate. And that was a kind of conflict between government of India and RBI was properly visible. Ki both are having on different course. Now, Samson accused CCI of detaining employees, seizing data unlawfully. CCI stands for Competition Commission of India. Yesterday we have discussed that Competition Commission of India is also going to see the matter of what? Hostile takeover. And what? You are being hawkish to grab the employees of other company. In that context, they have went to where? They have went to Samsung and seized certain data. And now Samsung is accusing that you have took the data unlawfully. US hikes tariff on imported Chinese solar prefers tungsten. See, at one instance, they are hiking what? Tariff. And at the same time, Donald Trump is inviting Xi Jinping to attend the ceremony of 20th of January. So on 20th of January, he is going to assume the office. And he is inviting whom? Xi Jinping to the part of it. And at the same time, he is doing what? Putting the tariff on whom? Chinese government. Fine. So Donald Trump is trying to play with Chinese. Fine. At the same time, I am showing that how important you are for me. But at the same time, I am putting sanctions on you. Characteristic, both at the same time. So this is why this important news. Now we can see that the tariff war between US and China. And that tariff war is going to dearer for both countries' people only. Fine. But anyways, South Korean president issue, he said that I will fight till the end because he tried to go for what? Martial law. So this is happening. Media group slams Israel journalist massacre. So Israel, as I said that, bad boy wala image. So they have the bad boy image. Here, the protests are happening against whom? South Korean president. Sri Lankan fisheries minister, he said that the Indian trawlers are taking what? A lot of fish from where? Palk Bay. So Palk Bay is an area where India and Sri Lanka both went for what? Fishing. So when we discuss about India and Sri Lanka matter or issues, then fishing and the Palk Bay fishing and illegal detention of fishermen is an important issue between whom? India and Sri Lanka. See, Uncle Donald. Russia struggles to make what? In meet war cost source. So war is getting costly. And if war is getting costly, that means you have to manage the resources. And that is why they are forced to leave what? Syria. Fine. Again, sports, we have already mentioned. So we are done for today for the newspaper analysis. Acha, do you want a detailed discussion on Place of Worship Act? Yes. But you have to sit. Yes, you have to sit, and when I take the things, I take in the detailed manner. So you have to remain patient at least for 20 to 30 minutes. Not today, of course tomorrow. Of course tomorrow. So tomorrow after the session, or I will take a separate session. If I am not taking newspaper, if I will take newspaper, then after the newspaper, if I am not taking newspaper, madam or Umesh sir is going to take the newspaper. Then after the newspaper session, I will take half an hour on that Place of Worship Act, all the historical underpinning, then other matters. Okay? Thank you. Yes. Any question? Acha.